Hey everybody, it's Daniel here with Mobile Syrup, and today we're taking a look at the second generation Moto E. Now this is the Motorola device that is going to breach both the sub $200 price point and the LTE market, which until now have not really crossed. So the first generation Moto E launched last year. It was a great success, but it was 3G only. Now there is a 3G version of this device, but here it is, the second generation Moto E LTE. So let's dive in. First of all, you can see that it's a pretty compact device, and it doesn't look like a lot of devices on the market, but it definitely looks like a Moto device, and that's because it takes a lot of the design aspects from the Motorola, from the Moto X and Moto G, and sort of from the first generation Moto E, but this looks like sort of a miniature Moto X from the first gen, and that's a good thing. So the one thing that you will notice is that this comes with a removable casing on the side, and that allows you to install things like a case around it so you can protect the back of the phone if you want, or you can just keep it naked and accessorize it with these red or black or blue or whatever color you like outer casing. Now, those are going to be sold for about $15. They snap on really easily. They're not super protective, but as I said, they're mostly for aesthetic purposes. Now you can see here that the device has a 4.5-inch display. It runs Android 5.0.2 Lollipop, and that is about what you'll sort of expect from this device when it comes to performance. So you can see here, this home screen, for example, is as stock as it gets. You can see that it has the Google Now launcher installed, and there aren't a lot of customizations that you'll have to work with. It's pretty much running stock Android 5.0.2, but there are a few benefits to the Moto E that even the second gen Moto G doesn't have, in addition to LTE, and that is, one of them is the twist to open the camera. Now this is a 5-megapixel camera. It doesn't have a flash that keeps the price down, but the camera itself is actually quite good for a low-end device. It's really snappy. It's one tap to shoot, and it works quite well. I'm really impressed with it. The other thing is the Moto display is featured here. Now it takes a little bit of kind of tweaking to turn on, so you may not see it, but this is a very similar version to that of the Moto X first and second gen, and it's the first time that it's come below a $200 price point, so that's something to keep in mind. Now with Moto Display, it works in tandem with Lollipop's lock screen notifications, so you'll see the Moto Display first, you'll tap on it, and then you'll unlock the phone and it'll show you the Lollipop notification lock screen. It's a bit of a two-step process. You can turn off Moto Display if you don't want it, but that is something to keep in mind. And let's move into the device itself. So this has a 64-bit Snapdragon 410 chip. It's a quad-core chip running at 1.2 gigahertz. It's really fast compared to the first-gen Snapdragon 200 on the first-gen Moto E. It's a really nice upgrade. It's actually quite a fast phone altogether. The other thing that this does really well is play games. Now, because it's a 960 by 540 QHD display, you'd think that it would be a little bit underpowered, but because it's got so few pixels on the display and the GPU is actually a current generation, you can see that it plays really well on this combination. So you can see Badland, beautiful game that's really worth playing. I can hopefully get through a little bit of the game here, and it plays beautifully at 60 frames per second. And there's really nothing to complain about. The screen here, it's an LCD display. It's quite vivid, quite sharp, and for the size, even though it's slightly lower in pixel density than the previous generation Moto E, it works really well because it's a better quality panel. So you lose a few pixels, but you gain things like viewing angles. It's not great, but they're better than the first gen Moto E, and overall, it's a much better display. Moving on, we can see that the phone runs very snappily. It supports all those Android 5.0 features that you'd expect, including the quick settings menu here. And when we go in here, you can see that there are some customizations. For example, the Moto setting allows you to turn on Moto Assist, Moto Action, and Moto Display. Now, Moto Assist gives you the ability to turn off notifications while you're sleeping or during a meeting, and those are quite useful. Moto Actions, as I said, shows you the quick capture. That's the single Moto Action that's supported on this device, but it works quite well. And finally, Moto Display is that feature that you can see your notifications on the lock screen just by tapping on that screen. So it's very simple and very easy, and it works quite well. Overall, you can tell after using it for a bit that it's not quite as responsive as a flagship device, but for under $200, you really can't go wrong here. This is one of those products that you have to accept what you're getting. It's one of those kind of compromises where okay, you're not going to get the best processor, you're not going to get the most RAM, you're not going to get the highest amount of internal storage, but you are going to get a very good experience running on the latest version of Android that's likely going to be updated to an even newer version faster than any other device on the market, because there's so few modifications in this version in particular. And overall, the only real downside, other than the 5-megapixel camera without a flash, is the fact that it only has about 5 gigabytes of usable storage. Now let's take a look at that. You can see here that it comes with 5 gigabytes total, so 8 gigs altogether, but 3 gigs is put aside for the system, and as a result, you only have about 2 gigabytes free for apps and games and things like that. So there aren't many things you can do with this device without an SD card. So you can install an SD card and expand your capabilities, and you can also move media over to that SD card if you want, which is a nice benefit. And you can add a USB on the go storage device as well, but it's very easy to push over apps from the internal storage to the SD. For example, Badland, I can move to the SD card quite easily. You can just tap once and it will move it over. Now, not all of the app will move over. It'll only move over the inessential parts, the game assets and things like that, that don't need to be installed internally in order to prevent things like piracy. That's understandable. However, you will save some space there. So I saved 65 megabytes on this app. So there you go. That's a nice feature as well. Overall, Motorola has done a really great job here. They made a device that's usable in one hand, it's customizable, it's inexpensive, and lastly, the battery. The battery lasts all day. It's a 2390 milliamp hour battery. It's non-removable, but it works really well. You'll be impressed with this device when it comes to battery life. And the reason that the battery is so good is because the screen doesn't need to work that hard. There aren't that many pixels, and you really won't notice. You'll just notice that the battery lasts all day and then some. So thank you so much for watching. This has been a review of the Moto E. Now, if you like this video and you want more of them, press like below, subscribe to Mobile Syrup's video channel, and of course, check back soon for more. My name is Daniel, and this has been a review of the Motorola Moto E. See you later.